Welcome, it's your friendly neighborhood Badger here, and I'm back to talk about 3.17 Path of Exile Siege of the Atlas teasers. We are closing in on the announcement date for the live stream of Path of Exile, which, by the way, you do get Twitch drops if you are not linked with your Path of Exile account and your Twitch account. Go and link that now. Any stream that you watch that's streaming or restreaming Path of Exile announcement, you'll get those Twitch drops. But today, we are going to be talking about the teasers that have come through so far. There's a few of them, and I'm sure I'm going to do another video with some more, but I thought I'd do a roundup type video at the moment, just to go over some really interesting ones. Right before we get into that though, I am starting up all of my content again, so remember to hit that sub button down below and click that tiny little bell just to get notified with when my content is coming out. You can notice that I am in a green screen now, so I'm changing things up. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you like it. If you don't like it, let me know in the comments down below. But let's jump right into it. So the first one that we're going to talk about today is a Divination card that has come to us. Now this is the Bijou Divination card, or the Bijou Divination card. I don't know how you want to pronounce it. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. Sounds French to me, probably is French, but it is to do with cluster jewels, item level 84 cluster jewels. Now this is a 3-card Divination card, and the flavor text is like this. Such fine trinkets show their true value in times of crisis, by Tang Mazu. Now, this does mean it's item level 84, so any single modifier can roll on these cluster jewels. The big one that people are always looking for is in any of the T1 passives like T1 Intelligence or anything like that, but also the main one that's usually on certain types of cluster jewels that people are looking for is the 35% increased effect of small, of values of small passives on these cluster jewels. Instead of the 25% that can roll much lower, the 35% is a big tick for all of those thresholds. So this is just going to mean that potentially target farming those eye level 84 cluster jewels is going to be a little bit easier. We don't know where this is going to drop yet. We have no idea whether it is going to be from a certain map itself, or, well, probably not a map because it's eye level 84, but maybe some sort of Guardians, or it could be another Conqueror drop. We're going to be talking about Conquerors in a little bit because there's something very interesting to talk about there. Moving on, the second Divination card we're going to talk about is another Divination card that's been spoiled, which is called Justified Ambition. And this is 5 cards for a synthesis map. Now, this can be any of the twisted, rewritten, I can't remember all the names, but the 4 base synthesis maps, and Cortex as well is classified as a synthesis map. So there can be 5 different maps in there. I would obviously expect that Cortex is going to be weighted probably around the 20 to 10%, and then the rest are going to be taking up everything else. So the, well, probably not 20%, I would say like 10 to 5%, because 20% would mean it would be equal with everything else. Once again, we don't know if this is going to be target farmed, or maybe it will drop from the synthesis bosses themselves, or it might drop from the feared, something like that, but it is going to mean that a little bit more target farm is coming through for those synthesis maps. It's going to help in things like, you know, boss rushes or races in SSF and everything like that, which will be pretty cool, hopefully, if it drops in certain places. And the flavor text for this one is, everything I have done has been for reclassed. You would pledge your life to me if you saw the things my way, and soon you will. Of High Templar Venarius right there. There's not really many implications with this. It's not bringing anything new apart from, you know, being able to turn these in for the potential of a Cortex. Could be really nice. I suspect that these are going to be relatively pricey at the start of League and then start to go down, but will sort of take some sort of price based on how Cortex are going there. Next, we're going to be moving to a jewel that has been teased here. Now, this jewel has lots of really interesting properties, and I'm sure you've seen some stuff floating around on Reddit and everything like that. I'm not going to dive into all of the use cases or edge cases for how this one will be used, but I'm going to talk about, you know, what it can actually bring to the table. So it's called melding of the flesh, not mending of the flesh, melding of the flesh. It is a cobalt jewel. You're limited to 1 of them, and there's a reason for that. The first thing that it gives is negative 76 to all elemental resistances. Now, being a strange number like 76, we can pretty much understand that this is going to have some sort of roll to it. You'll be able to divine this, and those rolls will go up or down in the negatives. It might have a massive role, an absolutely massive role, like negative 76 or negative 100 to plus 10. Could even go to the positives and might be really difficult to get there, but it probably won't. It'll probably stay in the negatives. I would say anywhere from 80 to 60 type of range, but we just don't quite know yet. The next line, though, is the really interesting line right here, and it says elemental resistances are limited by your highest maximum elemental resistance instead. So this does mean that, say for example, you're using a purity of fire and you've got 85, 86% maximum fire res, but your other reses, your elemental reses, are still sitting at 75. Those elemental resistances of cold and lightning will be raised up to the highest level, which is your maximum fire resistance, meaning that you could actually just run one of the purities to increase your resistance, and then be able to have all of your resistances up to that cap. Now, obviously, there is a massive downside with the negative resistances right there. However, this can definitely be played around, especially with things like Doriani's prototype, to be able to get a lot more damage on enemies and everything like that with scaling negative lightning res. And then you could, have your cold and your fire res extremely high, and then your lightning res extremely low. There's a lot of really interesting things to do with this. I'll let you guys play around with ideas for this one as well, but I'm sure there's stuff on Reddit, as I've said, and everyone else is talking about this one as well. It's floating around. If this unique is something to go by in what's going to be coming, I'm very excited for some new build-enabling uniques and jewels and everything like that to come through in 3.17. The last thing that we're going to talk about, which we'll stick on for a bit because it has quite a few interesting implications, is the new Map Stash tab. Now, the new Map Stash tab has a dedicated sub-tab for your Elder Guardian, Shaper, and Conqueror maps. Now, that last little bit there was basically a spoiler, and you can see the image right there as well. There are 4 new maps for your 4 Conquerors that were originally spawned. What I'm guessing is this is going to be changed out. Were originally spawned by just running certain maps and then spawning the Conquerors and then fighting the Conquerors and then running up to Cirrus. What this now most potentially means is, as we've suspected, the whole Atlas change is coming through. The Conquerors are going away from the Atlas itself, and they'll just be standard drops like your Elder Guardian maps and your Shaper Guardian maps, and now you'll have Conqueror maps, which hopefully will drop in like T16. They'll probably drop as T16. They'll probably function like Elder maps, where they drop as a base map itself, but then they have the influence of Baran, the Crusader, or they have the influence of the Warlord or something like that on there. Now, this is definitely meaning that obviously all of our influenced items and bases and everything like that are staying. They might be more scarce, they might not be. It's really hard to tell at this point. But what it is meaning is we are definitely getting some sort of new boss rotation system coming through in Siege of the Atlas, as we all thought, potentially based on those supporter packs. Could be getting those 4 bosses or 4 bosses and a major boss or something like that. Or it might not even be boss-based. We don't quite know yet, but obviously the Conquerors themselves in the Atlas are getting phased out. This is really, really interesting as well. The map stash tab itself having a full new tab for all of your Guardian maps and your Conqueror maps and everything like that. This is going to mean that you're not going to be getting your Elder maps completely lost in your other tabs, any of your 14, 16, or 16 map tabs where they just randomly get sorted into a random spot there. These are going to automatically sort to this tab right here, meaning that we don't have to go searching. It's a really, really, really good change. Extreme quality of life, but also a really, really nice teaser coming through right there. So let me know what you think about all of these teasers here, what you're hoping from them, any sort of ideas or builds that you've got planned around that new jewel, and let me know what you're thinking about what the new Atlas is going to be looking like as well. That's all I really have to say. Remember to hit the sub button, that bell, and come watch me live on Twitch at twitch.tv/thisisbadger. We'll be switching our time at the moment between talking about Path of Exile teasers and then Monster Hunter, but that's all I really have to say. Thank you, and until next time, Badger is out.